In this video, we're going to show you how to remove an IC chip and replace it on a CED video disc player. The player that we're doing this on is a JCPenney's player, and what the problem with the player is it's having a grainy black and white picture, and then the picture will wobble from side to side. Typically, black and white picture means that the turntable speed is wrong. That was not the issue on this player. Also, the wobble side to side is typically an Armstretcher coil. I replaced the Armstretcher coil and it did no good, so that means it's probably the IC for the stretcher coil. So, I looked in the manual. There's actually several ICs. They're listed as 1754-1 on the IC that's on the board. There'll be different quadrants on the board. One will say like stylus kicker, video output, matrix buffer, and then there's one that says Armstretcher video converter. So the Armstretcher will be the 1754-1 that's in that quadrant. And then the -1 means that it's the first chip, and then -2 would mean that it's the second revision, and -3 is the third revision. -3 is actually the last revision they made of that chip. You can get them from John Stevens at CEDatum. But so in this video, first I'm going to show you the video of when I was servicing the player to show you what the issue looks like, and then we're going to do the CED workshop with John Greve, and he's going to show you how to change that chip. And then if I have any more information to post, I'll just post it down in the comments section of the video. Thank you for watching.
We replaced an IC chip on this particular player here. It's got some issues, and Josh can explain what they are. Mostly it's a wobbly picture, and it's black and white rather than in color. And based on the service manual and John Stevens' expertise and experience, he says it's this IC chip right here, which is U3401. And before you start replacing chips blindly, you have to identify pin 1, and all of these IC chips, you'll see a notch in the very beginning there. You see that notch, Josh?
Yep.
You see the notch there? See how they're all facing the same direction on the board? They're all facing, the notch is facing this direction on the board. See that?
Yep.
And that's pretty common, but you need to identify that because the chip can go in two ways, and if you got this notch the other way, it's not going to work. You probably end up destroying the chip instantly when you power it up. So the notch to the left of the notch is always pin 1. This is pin 1 here then. We're unplugged here, aren't we? Yeah. So this is pin 1, and then it numbers straight down 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it skips across. Now that's pin 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like I said, pin 1 is always to the left of the notch. On this chip here, this is pin 1. That's pin 1. It's all the same because it's to the left of the notch. So you have to make sure when you put the new chip in, and here's the new chip. You see the notch? The new chip has to go this way with the notch like that. It'll install just as easily this way, but it's not going to work. So you got to make sure before you start to mark where pin 1 is. And I'm just going to put a number 1 right here. A lot of times the boards will actually have a number there, 1. And these might already be marked that, I don't know. Yeah, there is. See the little 1 there? Can you see the 1 there? Does that show up, Josh? Is that showing up?
Kind of, yeah, you can see the 1 there.
And you see the 1 there? See the 1 there? So that's how in electronics with IC chips, and I'm not an engineer or anything, I'm just telling you what I learned on my own and through reading and whatnot. So that's how you identify moving forward. Pin 1, you know, is okay. Now we've identified the chip in the back of the board. There's different tip sizes, like real sharp and pointed there for real fine work, you know. A wider wedge, you know, for something more broad, like, you know, I don't know, something where you need more heat, like some kind of a joint like this rather than a foiled trace. I have this one on here. I was working on this junk board.
Well, I mean, if you look back here, I was so distracted.
I was working on this junk board the other day. I was removing chips, just practicing again. I removed this chip. There's, took it off. And I removed these 2 chips here, just practicing. It's been a while. I wanted to make sure I could still
Looks
do
good.
it. So, and the way you do that, you have to have a desoldering tool. There's multiple ways to actually do that, but the best way is with a desoldering tool, a vacuum soldering that sucks the solder as it liquefies. If you don't have that, you can clip the legs on the chips, you know, like this. Clip those, clip each one, and then you can use your regular soldering and a copper braid to wick the solder where you apply the soldering pencil on the pad with a copper braid. And we can do this with an actual and when the solder liquefies, it flows onto the braid, and that generally allows you then to remove that leg we just clipped off. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, sounds good.
But if you can remove the chip in one single piece, that's the way you want to go.
Or they make a solder sucker, don't they?
Yeah, that's what that tool there is. And there's also, excuse me, there's kind of a cheaper thing here, which kind of does that.
Snap vacuum solder popper.
But this here, you have to push a plunger down and then you press a button and the plunger snaps up. Oh, it's been so long since I've used this here. You push this plunger down. This is a soldering, not a soldering, but it's a heat tip. And you place it over the trace like this. And when the solder liquefies, you press this button, and that sucks the solder up in theory. But
it doesn't work very good.
It's a $40 thing compared to, you know, a $200 thing. And
yeah, let's take a look at this one.
That's a low-end unit there.
Desoldering system.
So, while we're waiting for that to warm up, it takes about 10 minutes to get good and hot. It'll even take less time or more time if I don't turn it on.
How do you know if it's hot? Do you lick it?
You can.
Don't lick it. This is a warning. Do not lick it.
Let's turn it on. So,
about what temperature do you want it at?
Around 400, something like that, 450. So you pull the trigger, and that reminds me I got to get this filter wet. It sucks the solder. The solder is trapped in this spring, and this little filter prevents anything from getting past the spring into the vacuum hose. So I got to put a couple drops of water on here.
Uh-huh.
Going somewhere before I got distracted with this, I don't recall. I didn't turn it on, so now we'll turn on. Oh, while we wait for this to warm up now, what you always need to do with old solder is put fresh solder on it, because old solder just doesn't want to liquefy and suck up. So you always put a little more solder, fresh solder, on the pads that you're actually going to remove in the next step. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's the big pin.
We got 14 pins.
Oh wait, no, that's a small pin. That's right.
I need my magnifying glass. Put this in there. And so I can pull shit out of the way. Put the heat on the foil trace. Some down unplugged on me. It'll take another minute for this to come in. Tip, and it's plenty hot. So we'll just start here. You hold the heat against the solder blob and the leg at the same time, so it heats up evenly. You want to get the heat on and get the heat off. Boards are pretty delicate, and they can't take a whole lot of that. Plus the component underneath is heat sensitive too, you know, the chip. You don't want a lot of heat on that chip. Get the heat on and get it off. That's why you gotta have enough heat. This is probably a 25 or 40 watt soldering pencil. They come in various wattages, you know, I've got some that's an adjustable, an old Radio Shack one. Okay, this is the fun part. I gotta hold this so I can see it better. You put it on vertically. There's a little hole in the center. You center the hole over the leg of the pin. See the little leg of the pin there? You put that leg in the center hole of that. You wait for the solder to liquefy, and then you hold the trigger in for about 3 seconds, and you move on to the next one. Okay, let's try this. Yeah, it's coming up. I just can't see very well enough.
Alright.
Yeah, the hole's there. And sometimes the leg, because when they put them in, they're at an angle, so the leg is still pressing against the foil trace. What I do is I use this pencil and I just kind of unsolders that. Like that. It just unsolders it off that edge. I missed one here. Do the other row. Yeah, that's coming up. Just kind of work it.
So flip the board around. And then
Yeah, and then just gently see if it's loose enough to. See, that's coming up real nice. You don't want to force it because then you're going to rip those foil traces out on the bottom side. There, one piece. Isn't that nice?
cool.
So, now,
Oh, that's the old one.
everybody knows the old trick. You never put in another chip and solder it right to you always put in a socket so that you never have to desolder if it ever goes bad on you again. You can just
Then you just pop the socket or pop the chip out and pop the new one in.
it goes in, there's no pin 1 to worry about. Oh, there's a little notch there. So just for the sake of uniformity, let's keep the notches all pointing the same direction. You see the pin 1 there, Josh, with the chip out of there now?
Yep.
I'll tell you, where's my flashlight? I cannot see anything without light. Let's make sure those holes are all clean. They look okay. You can't force any of this stuff in, you just end up bent over pin.
I think they're doing a video. I'm going to show you.
Do you want something to set it on, or?
I got it now. Okay, this socket's seated. Now we want to flip that over and inspect it all. Make sure nothing's bent over.
And I believe this is a complete collection of what, CEDs? He's got every CED. You got every CED ever made?
Tack. It's all about
for John. Yeah, we picked that up.
being careful.
That's a beauty. We don't know if it works yet. It's not
That one's there. That one's there.
I want to plug it in so bad, but I did inside storage this week.
When I was a young man,
You're going to want to walk back here.
when I wore younger man's clothes. Da, 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 da. Okay, so that's good. Now we solder that in there. That's the easiest part of the whole thing.
See the atom tapes? Yeah.
And make sure your tip is clean. Make sure it's hot.
I
Just
don't think I'm going to be
running.
able to squeeze, but I'm, oh my god, there's more. It's all free dough.
Came unplugged again.
Box.
This is the best one these I've ever had.
Wow, it's got a digital gauge on it even?
Yeah, you can, set it up and
Whoa.
down. Like that. And it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I'd say.
Like $40 or something.
Wow, that's a good deal.
Chinese, probably. Okay, now I gotta have this here. I need this magnification. And I always start away from me and work towards me. You put the solder to the oil trace and the pin at the same time. That's all you do, just that quick. Get the heat on, you melt it, you get the heat off. Get the heat on, it melts. Get the heat off. Get the heat on.
Remember, Master System used those too. I never the original because the Master System had the original Sega Master, the hard slot.
I didn't know that.
If you have the heat on too long, it's going to start melting the socket on the back side of there.
What's funny is the power-based converter for the Genesis required Sega cartridges. Oh,
Can't take a lot of that.
oh, wait, here's the tree. There's something. Hold on.
Okay, that's it.
I'm telling you, walk through here and not.
Now, we'll just inspect our work.
What side troll too? This is awesome. Oh my god. Wow. All the OPG stuff.
I'll look at each one.
Make sure you don't have any solder on the trace.
Yeah,
Of the next one
nothing
next
bridging.
to it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Make sure it's a good solder joint, not a blob. It's nice and shiny. Those all look fine. You want to look at that closer? I mean, I don't know if you can see that through there. I'm going to turn this off.
That one right there, U1.
So pin one, we have to, pin one. There's the notch on the chip. See it?
Yep.
And I just said, you know what? It's not.
And now,
And I did eventually get one, but
you want to... No,
I think on the cap.
that's not a fine enough tool for
I
this.
got it for free from my buddy.
No.
I just want to lift that on. You kind of get the legs started. You can kind of feel when it's in, but you really got to look it over because it's really easy to get one bent over. Kind of start it, rock it in a little bit like that. Okay, that's it, man. If that doesn't do it, then John is
All right.
on, right? I mean,
We'll throw it back together and try her out.
yeah.
Work now.
Alright, so we got it back together. I'm gonna try her out, see if she works.
Drum roll.
Drum roll.
I have to do the drum roll like Clark W. Griswold. This is it, man.
See all that smoke coming out of the back?
Oh.
We got zeros. Zero. Wow, look
Oh,
at that
that is
color.
awesome.
Wow.
Whoa.
That was black and white before, right?
It was, and it was jumpy, and now it's stable.
Color. Yeah, you're
like-
right. It's rock steady. I'm going to turn the volume up
Looks
there.
like John Stevens knows what he's talking about, huh?
Just the chip, huh?
It was the chip.
John was all over
The
that.
U505 or whatever it was.
And we got the Dash 3 in here now for better reliability.
Yep.
You had the soldering in.
Yeah,
Try this out here.
put it on a.
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful picture.
Yeah. It's worth saving a pennies player, you know. I mean, that's,
Oh yeah, for sure. I got the remote for it at home too.
You got the remote for it?
I do. Yeah, Ryan doesn't even have the remote. He wanted to buy just the remote from me. I'm like, nope, staying with its player.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
remote control.
Yeah, where are you going to get another one, right?
Exactly. Well, that's why he doesn't have one. There is no other ones.
You wonder how many of these pennies sold.
They just have them in 1 year.
I have no idea.
Well, good work, sir. Thank you very much.
Every now and then a blind squirrel finds a nut, you know.
Hey, there's your Coke Zero from earlier.
Ah! Too late now, I switched to beer.